All right, let's talk about an idea that's so deep in our culture we barely even notice it's there. It's this belief that to be free and to live a good life, we need as much choice as humanly possible. But what if I told you that core belief is actually, well, wrong?
I mean, this is what the psychologist Barry Schwartz calls the official dogma of Western societies. And the logic, it seems pretty simple, right? More choice equals more freedom, and more freedom equals more well-being. It's the promise of progress, the engine of our modern world. And on the surface, it makes perfect sense.
But is it really that simple? Is more always better? Today we're going to dig into the evidence that suggests this official dogma, this fundamental belief we all share, might just be making us miserable.
To really get what's happened, we first have to appreciate the sheer scale of this change. I mean, in just a few decades, choice has absolutely exploded in every single corner of our lives.
Think about something as simple as salad dressing. 175 options in a typical supermarket. 175! And that's not even counting the dozens of different oils and vinegars you could grab to make your own. It's just a wall of tiny, meaningless decisions. Okay, but watch how this scales up, because it gets kind of crazy. In just one consumer electronics store, you can put together, get this, over 6.5 million different stereo systems from the components they have. 6.5 million. The perfect one might be in there somewhere, sure, but so is the absolute certainty of being completely and totally overwhelmed. And this right here perfectly illustrates the shift. It used to be you had one phone company, Maybell. The phone did one thing. It made calls, and it never, ever broke. Now, it's basically impossible to buy a phone that doesn't also have a camera that's better than most professional cameras and a processor that could launch a satellite. We have unlimited variety, sure, but we also have unlimited complexity. So here's the crucial point. This isn't just about shopping for stuff. This explosion of choice now governs the most profound parts of our lives. You go to the doctor, and patient autonomy means the burden of making a life or death decision is shifted from the expert to you. We're told we have to invent our own identities. We have to constantly decide if we're in the right career, when we should work, when we should stop. Even questions like marriage and kids, they used to be defaults. Now, every single one is a massive individual decision. Now, all of this has two major negative effects. And the first one is a bit of a paradox. Instead of setting us free, all this choice can actually produce paralysis.
So what do we mean by paralysis? Well, it's that state where the sheer volume of options becomes so daunting that making a choice feels impossible. So you just don't. You put it off. You say, I'll do it tomorrow. And pretty soon, tomorrow never comes.
And look, this isn't just a feeling. It has real, measurable, and frankly, pretty shocking consequences. A study of investment records from the mutual fund giant Vanguard gives us a stunning example of this in action.
So researchers looked at the retirement plans for nearly 1 million employees, and the results were just mind-blowing. Take a look at this. What they found was that for every 10 mutual funds an employer offered, the rate of participation actually went down. So if you offer 50 funds instead of just 5, 10% fewer employees will sign up at all. They're so afraid of making the wrong choice, they just make no choice.
And the cost of this paralysis isn't just mental, it's financial, and it is huge. By not choosing, people are passing up as much as $5,000 a year in employer matching funds. Let that sink in for a second. That is free money, just left on the table, because the task of picking the right fund is just too hard. Okay, let's move on to the second negative effect, because this is where it gets even stranger. Even if we manage to overcome the paralysis and actually make a choice, we often end up less satisfied with it than we would have been if we'd had fewer options to begin with. So, why does this happen? Well, it breaks down into 3 pretty distinct psychological traps. First up, you've got regret. With hundreds of options, it's just so easy to imagine that one of the choices you didn't make would have been better. That little voice in your head subtracts from your satisfaction. Second, you have opportunity costs. Even if your choice is great, your brain starts thinking about all the cool features of the ones you rejected. And every time you do that, it subtracts a little bit of enjoyment from what you actually have. And finally, number 3, escalated expectations. When there are 1 million options out there, your brain logically concludes that a perfect one must exist. So you're no longer happy with good enough, which means you're pretty much guaranteed to be disappointed. This personal story from Barry Schwartz just captures the feeling perfectly. He went to buy a simple pair of jeans and was hit with this insane wall of choices. Slim fit, easy fit, relaxed fit, button fly, zipper fly, acid washed, stone washed, distressed,
you name it. He tried them all on and ended up with the best-fitting jeans he had ever owned in his life. He objectively did better, but he felt worse. So why?
Let's just break that down. In the old, low-choice world, you had one kind of jeans. They didn't fit well, but your expectations were low. So if they fit poorly, you just blame the world. They don't make good jeans. What could you do? But in today's high-choice world, your expectations go through the roof. You expect perfection. And when what you get is just great but not perfect, you compare it to that imaginary perfection and feel disappointed. And who do you blame? You blame yourself. You think you failed.
And this is where it gets really, really serious. This cycle of escalated expectations leading to disappointment, leading to self-blame, is a significant contributor to the explosion of clinical depression we're seeing in the modern world. We are objectively doing better than ever before, but we are subjectively feeling worse. And that gap, well, the net result is often misery.
So, if the official dogma is wrong, if more choice isn't the answer, then what is? The solution lies in completely reframing how we think about freedom. And the best way to do that is with the metaphor of a fishbowl.
The world we used to live in had rules that were kind of like the Ten Commandments. They were just written in stone. They were clear, even if they were restrictive. The world we live in now, though, is like a do-it-yourself kit with infinite pieces and absolutely no instruction manual.
And this brings us right to the core idea. Think about a fish in a fishbowl. It might seem limited, but those glass walls give it structure. If you shatter that bowl to make everything possible, what you get isn't a free fish. What you get is a paralyzed fish, flapping on the floor, unable to do anything. The structure of the bowl, the limits, are what make freedom of movement possible in the first place.
So let's be really clear. The point isn't that choice is bad. Of course not. Some choice is way better than none. But it does not follow that more choice is better than some. We have long since passed the point where adding more options actually improves our well-being. The real takeaway is that some boundaries, some constraints, are actually liberating.
This leads us to the final, critical question. If this endless ocean of possibility is actually a recipe for misery, how in the world are we supposed to live a good life? The answer is as simple as it is profound. Everybody needs a fishbowl. This isn't about giving up on freedom. It's about understanding that a world with no structure, no limits, that's just a recipe for paralysis and dissatisfaction. The real challenge of modern life isn't to break free of all our constraints, it's to decide which constraints are the right ones for us. It's about consciously building a fishbowl that gives our lives shape and meaning and focus, one that's big enough for a happy life, but small enough to make real freedom possible. So the key takeaway, the question this really leaves us with, is this: what does your fishbowl look like?